So all of these coaches came in and out of our living room. The very first question was always, did we like them? If the answer was, what'd that really mean? Next, arrogant, jerk, next. So one day my luck changed. And here's how I doubled my NBA income. For some of you, it might make you a little bit uncomfortable. The doorbell rang. Into my home stepped a guy named Clem Haskins from the University of Minnesota. I noticed something right away. He didn't have on a university-issued golf shirt. He had on a three-piece suit, fresh haircut. He looked like success. He looked like money. He looked like success. He looked like money. He looked like success. He looked like money. He passed the eyeball test. Ladies and gentlemen, do you guys know that research and study has shown the better we look, the more money we make? So my question for you, if human nature is true, and the first time I see you, I place a value on you. The second time I evaluate you is when you open up your mouth. So here's my advice. If you're not real smart, look real good and be real quiet. See, I'm a former athlete. And to play in the NBA and NFL, you have to pass the eyeball test, right? So Peyton Manning looks like a quarterback. Tom Brady looks like a quarterback. Cam Newton looks like RoboCop playing quarterback. So nobody had a problem drafting them number one in the draft. So it's not a black-white thing, is it? It's an eyeball thing. So with that being said, why did Doug Flutie struggle? How can Charlie Ward win the Heisman and not get drafted? How can Russell Wilson be the best college quarterback and get drafted in the third round? Anybody know? One reason. They didn't pass the eyeball test, ladies and gentlemen. They were considered too short. And since they didn't pass the eyeball test, it diminished their value. That coach walked into my home, and before he said a word, he had a slight advantage over the competition. Now in sports, if you win by one, you still win. Would you agree? Which means, if I were you, I would pay attention to detail. If you're in a very competitive industry, how can you pass the eyeball test and win? Your eyeball test might be your website. Your eyeball test might be the trucks that your people drive. Your eyeball test might be the work site. Your eyeball test might be your professionals when they engage customers. See, in construction, you don't like to dress up. I get it, but you still need to pass the eyeball test. And if you can pass the eyeball test, it can give you a slight advantage over the competition. Before he said a word, I'm giving you real feedback, real talk, he had a slight advantage over the competition. I just got booked by a financial service firm. They booked me to do 30 events in 90 days. After we closed the deal, which was an NBA-sized deal, in 90 days, I asked my clients, just for the fun of it, who were the other speakers you considered? Do you guys know? One of the speakers they considered was my mentor. And I thought, snap. I want a big job over my mentor. Never told him. Never said a word. I took my blessing and I kept my mouth shut. Now, I don't know why they chose me. Maybe it was because of my smile. Maybe it was just because I try to look like success and look like money. Every ballroom I go into, I want to gauge how people are going to dress, and I want to dress slightly better. I want to be the sharpest dressed guy in the room, and you guys were easy today. But just in case I got some smart Alex, I brought my secret weapon. See, this hanky to me represents detail. And sometimes the smallest little detail can give you a huge advantage over your competition. I played with two superstars. I had a teammate named John Stockton. You guys ever heard of him? John Stockton would go to a chiropractor 4 times a day on game day. I was about 24 years old, and I would tease him. I was like, dude, are you OCD or something? What the heck are you going to a chiropractor 4 times a day? You would have thought I would have been smart enough to just go with him. I'm going to tell a superstar that what he's doing doesn't make sense. Stockton played 20 years in the NBA. If I could go back in time, I would have gone to that chiropractor every time he went. John Stockton played 20 years in the NBA as a point guard. He didn't quit because he got slow. He quit because he refused to wear he refused to wear baggy shorts. That's why he quit. Stockton loved Daisy Dukes. Karl Malone lifted weights every single day. Karl Malone was the most annoying man I've ever eaten with. I would go behind his back, apologize to the waitress, and give her a bigger tip because he was difficult. One day, this man ordered a grilled chicken Caesar salad, 6'9", 256 pounds, eating a salad. I never saw that man clean his plate. He asked this woman, when you grill my chicken breast, can you make sure there's no char marks on my chicken? I'm like, dude, you want her to levitate the chicken over the grill? What's your freaking problem? He had a theory. He monitored everything he put in his body, and that's why he had the best body of all time. He lifted weights every day, and he was very picky on what he ate. Walter, char marks have carcinogens. Carcinogens create cancer. I want the chicken breast, but I don't want the cancer. Me, I ate whatever they brought me. I didn't order French fries, but bring them on. I didn't order sweet tea, bring them on. That apple pie a la mode looks good, bring it on. I didn't go to a chiropractor. I was not meticulous about what I ate, and I didn't have the career that they have of everybody with me. And my mentality at the time is that it doesn't take all that. I'm kicking my competition's butt right now because I pay attention to detail. Do you pass the eyeball test? When companies are looking for vendors, they want to kick some tires. Am I right or wrong? The first place they kick a tire is on your website. Can you do me a favor? Within 90 seconds, can I know who you are? Can I know what you do? Can it be clear about how you do it just by me going to your website? If I see one of your trucks going down the street, I should be able to look at your freaking truck, know who you are, know what you do, and know how you do it. If you don't clearly explain that to me in 90 seconds or less, you suck. It should be clear if you're passing the eyeball test. My program is think, execute, and dominate. It's that simple. If you want to hire Walter Bond, I'm going to be entertaining and dynamic, and I'm going to teach you how to think, execute, and dominate. The entire marketplace knows me for that, and there's no confusion in the marketplace. So this coach comes to my house. He passes the eyeball test, but he doesn't stop there. He goes in the kitchen and starts talking to my mom first. He found out my mother is a native of Kentucky. Clem Haskins is a native of Kentucky. He stood in that kitchen, and all he talked about was Kentucky. He didn't talk about playing time. He didn't talk about graduation rates. All he talked about was Kentucky. He found out my mother's best friend in college was his wife's first cousin. He knew my mother was a Kentucky native. And watch this. My big sister played college ball at USC with a girl named Cheryl Miller. My big sister won 2 national championships. That's a tough house when your sister has more championship rings than you do. Coach Haskins has a daughter named Clement Haskins. She visited USC, and my big sister was her host on her recruiting trip. Significant. I'm 5 years younger than my sister. Coach Haskins knew that, and this is before LinkedIn, ladies and gentlemen. And he pronounced my sister's name perfectly. And in 30 minutes, he had my mom eating at the palm of his hands. After he got done with my mom, he started talking to my dad. He said, Mr. Bond, I run my program with order. My dad runs high school with order. Mr. Bond, I run my program with discipline. My dad runs high school with discipline. He said, Mr. Bond, I don't know about you, but I'm a country boy from down south. We're on the south side of Chicago. Horns are honking. Sirens are blaring. And he says, I'm a country boy from down south. And I noticed, one, he did not even have a brochure. Two, it almost seemed like he digressed into a slight southern drawl. Oh, it was hypnotic. Oh, it was magical. And in 30 minutes, he had my dad eating out the palm of his hand. And right before he left the house, all he said to me was, Walter Bond, you're the key, son. If I get you to my campus, you are the key. He hopped in the car and drove away. And all of a sudden, we gathered around the kitchen table. I took charge of this meeting because I didn't have a tough decision anymore. So I looked at my mom, I said, Mama, what'd you think? Did you like him? My mother said this, you know, son, this is your decision. This is your decision, son. But I really like that man. He's a legend in Kentucky, son. I've been hearing about that man my whole life. Mama, I'm not trying to get into your business, but I really like that man. I turned to my daddy. You guys have to understand, not only am I talking to my dad, I'm also talking to my high school principal. There was not another man on this earth who I respected more than my dad. For you business leaders who have a family-owned business, your son is watching you. Your son is paying attention to you. And the thing I love most about my daddy, I'll tell you in a moment. I would run through a wall for my daddy, and I'll tell you why in a moment. So I asked my father, Daddy, what do you think? Did you like him? When I heard from my daddy, I felt like I was hearing from God himself. I was around my father 24 hours a day. I went to work with him. I came home with him. We ate breakfast together. We ate dinner together. And him and my mama's bedroom was right across the hall from mine. I was around that man 24 hours a day. And I can honestly say he was a gentleman at work and he was a gentleman at home. He was the same man both places. As I told my audience last night, I hope that's the same thing for you. I hope your son speaks about you with the same respect as I speak about my daddy. And here's the reality. He was the same man both places, which meant he was consistent, which meant he had integrity. I want to share a lesson to you. Some of you guys act different at work than you do at home. The real you lives at home. If you're a jerk at home, you're a freaking jerk. Because the real you lives at home. So I said, Daddy, what'd you think? Did you like him? Great leaders always give the why. If you want to have mature kids, always give them the why. If I ever overhear you telling your kids, because I said so, I'll be right there saying, you suck. Here's a problem with that. If all you say is because I said so, Mom and Dad, if I come to you 16 and all you tell me is because I said so, I leave that conversation 16. My father always took the time and gave us a why, so even if I came to him with a 16-year-old mentality, I could hear a 45-year-old perspective. I could hear a 50-year-old perspective, and I might leave the conversation 16 and a half, 17. Does that make sense to anybody? So my father always gave us the why. So I said, Dad, did you like him? My dad said, son, I like him. I like him a lot, and here's why. Did you notice he didn't have a brochure? Yeah, Dad, I noticed. I noticed something else, son. All he promised you was an opportunity. Think about it, son. These other coaches promised you a starting position. How can he do that? You've not even stepped foot on the college campus. Is that fair to your future teammates for them to promise you a starting position as a freshman? You've not even stepped foot on campus? Son, there's going to be sophomores and juniors and seniors. How can they promise you a starting position as a freshman? You can trust a man like that. You can trust a man like that. Your customers and clients need to be able to trust you. If you can't build trust, they won't write a check. So you need to be likable, but you also need to be trustworthy. My father said you can trust a man like that because he shot you straight? Are you hearing no because people don't like you? Are you hearing no because people don't trust you? You better figure out why you hear the word no and fix it and start hearing the word yes. My daddy said, I like him a lot, son. He's a country boy just like me. And so my mom and dad said, well, Walter, you got to play for him. Do you like him? Here's my answer, business people. Yeah, I like him a lot. He told me I was the key. In other words, he told me that I was special. Now, there's a couple of lessons wrapped up in there, and I want to break them all down for you if I got time. Great salespeople don't sell product, they sell hopes and dreams. Stop selling product and start selling hopes and dreams. Nick Saban, Calipari, Urban Meyer, they don't sell product. They sell hopes and dreams. Nobody wants your product or service. They want the benefit that your product and service will bring. Does that make sense to anybody? I try not to sell product. I try to sell hopes and dreams. Calipari, Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, trust me, they are the best at selling hopes and dreams. It's hard to say no to a hope and a dream. Something else my coach did that a lot of business people don't do, he built consensus. When you make a presentation, sometimes we don't know who the decision maker is, do we? If I were you, before a presentation is given, I need to know what is your decision-making process. Is it your call, CFO, or do you guys make this decision as a committee? Why do I ask that? Anybody know? Exactly, and I need to know what is your decision-making process. Here's a mistake a lot of business people do. They'll talk to one person, sell one person, and if you fail to do your homework, what happens if it's a group decision? That person might be one of three making the decision. Is everybody with me? Which means you've only influenced 33 1/3 of the decision-making process. Coach Haskins came in and built consensus. My mama loved him, my daddy loved him, and I loved him. So he closed the deal because he built consensus. When he came into that house, he had no clue whose call it was. In the recruiting game, sometimes it's the kid's call. Sometimes it's the daddy's call. And sometimes they make a group decision. Are you hearing what I'm saying? He didn't know for sure, but he reinforced his sales strategy by building consensus. So if I were you, the very first question I always ask, what is your decision-making process? And if it's a committee, my next quest, can I get everyone on the phone and do a conference call? Why do I do that? Huh? It should be obvious. I want to get everybody who's involved in the decision-making process on the phone with me at the same time. When I do a committee-based conversation, we close 100% of those deals. Is everybody with me? Always build consensus when you're selling, because if you build consensus, you're going to always hear a yes. So Kim Haskins left the house. I said to my mama, did you like him? She said, yeah. I turned to my daddy, did you like him? He said, yeah. And they finally asked me, did I like him? And then my daddy asked me why. And here's what I told him. Coach Haskins told me I was the key. In other words, he made me feel special.